What's going on, you guys? You guys are watching YCF Airboats, and this is a YCF Airboat production. We are getting back on the 220 470 conversion. We're so close to finishing this up. This episode should just about finish everything up. I put his new gaskets on his valve covers. Nice new rubber gaskets. Now when you guys put those style gaskets on there, do not tighten them a lot. Just kind of snug them up, because if you tighten those gaskets too much, you ruin them right off the bat, and those are not cheap. This is where we were at with it. So I've got all his intakes painted. I have the cage also painted out there. I've got his exhaust touched up. The rigging is all painted. I painted his oil cooler. Everything's painted. I cannot put the cage on the boat and get it bolted up because I have to get gaskets. I do not have new gaskets for the intake tubes, and therefore I'm not going to put them on there. Well, I have to take it all back apart. I got to get gaskets. John's going to have to get me some gaskets for the intake tubes, but that's why I have not put the cage back on and put everything else on, because I got to get the intake tubes and the exhaust back on, and with the hybrid cage it's much easier to do with it off. I have bolted on his alternator, his starter, his fuel pump and fuel water separator bolted on. Again guys, everything's painted and ready to go back together, but I am waiting on gaskets. So this is where we're at with it. I have also gotten a 3D printer and 3D printed some bushings, the smaller bushings that I can also use for the smaller rudder bushings, because I believe there's two sizes, a bigger size, smaller size. That's a smaller size. Painted, we went with a hammered black. I'm not sure if the camera does it any justice, but it looks really good. It's a hammered gloss black, and it almost looks like it has a hint of silver flake in it, and it, like, when you put it on there, it separates. And it's hard to tell. I really see it. But anyways, that's what we went with. I also did it on his intake tubes. But anyways guys, this boat build is taking longer than normally because I've been waiting on materials quite a bit, but that's the name of the game in this situation. So also real quick, I did also drill and put his bolts in for his stringers, for the rigging to be bolted to the stringers. Also guys, he is going pacemaker on this, and when you take your mag gear out on these 220, or when you take your mag out, the mag gear wants to fall out. So you have to take the gear off, and then when you take the gear off, there's the sleeve and this piece that unbolts that the gear goes on, and there's oil ports in there. Anyways, he has to get those sealed off. Anyways, he wants me to tack weld them now, and the more I think about it, I don't think I'm going to. I really don't know if I feel comfortable tacking the motor in there. I mean, it might be just as simple as, you know, turning the welder up and putting two simple tacks in there, but I just don't know if I feel comfortable, because you can't get the piece out of there to tack it, unless you take the whole housing apart, the rear housing, and I'm definitely not doing that. Anyways, I don't know if I feel comfortable, just for the fact of what if a bead or a burr or something falls down in there, and then I just don't want to be responsible for that kind of stuff. So I think I might just keep it to me just building riggings, and yeah, I'll throw some paint on there if you want. But all right y'all, next day, storm's gone, it's beautiful out again. I went to Tractor Supply this morning. I bought this roll. This is gasket material. It's a gasket maker. So what I'm going to do, I've done this hundreds of times. I've used this material from Tractor Supply. It is a gasket material. You just have to cut your gaskets out. And how I punch the holes in them for the bolts is I either use a 9mm shell casing. For this instance, I believe it's going to be the 22 Magnum is going to give me my perfect hole punches. But you just set it on a piece of wood or something, and you put your shell casing on your mark and hit it with a hammer, and it punches out a perfect hole. So I got to get cutting on those and making those gaskets so I can get this motor back together. All right, you guys, here is gaskets, the nice holes. Oop. With the nice holes. Yes, they were 4-holed gaskets, but on these straight valve cylinders on the 470, there's only 2 bolt holes. As you can see, I've already put this side on. So what's the point of wasting more material that's not going to be used? So the way they had it set up, you can see my gasket right there. Well, anyways, guys, there they are. They're not perfect. They'll work just fine. This, letting that gasket maker, I just put around each one of these tubes just to make sure we don't have a leak, and I'm about to get a paper towel and wipe it clean. But you don't want an air leak on an intake. You can burn out cylinders, and this is a 220, so you definitely don't want to get it hot and be burning out in the cylinders and breaking cranks. Well, all right, y'all, I got the motor back together. I still got to put its carburetor up and mount it up there. I wore rubber gloves every time I touched anything on this motor, and there's still just spots and marks from the dirt on the rubber gloves. I still have to put his hose, which is right here, that goes from there to this one, which you can see it on that side. It's sitting there. That is Loctite from putting on bolts and stuff for the headers. That got on the gloves and got on the exhaust. I am about to possibly put the cage on and get it bolted up. I'm letting it still just cook out there in the sun. So I've got the cage on. I've got one rudder on. I still got to get the other rudder on. I temporarily put on this prop because I couldn't get it off of the boat, and it's got to come off anyways. You cannot get, I personally could not get 2 or 3 of the bolts off to pull it off. It was so rusted and corroded on there. I soaked it with PB Blaster, WD-40, oil, all kinds of stuff. Let it soak. I let it sit for days and days, obviously, because this boat is taking a longer time to build because I've been waiting on materials. And if I had all the materials, I would have had it done a long time ago, but that's not the case on this build. John's on a budget. But anyways, it's been sitting here for longer than any other boat probably has, and I have consistently tried to get the nuts loose. They are seized on. I cannot get the nuts out. They are seized, stuck. The other ones that I did get off were so nasty and rusted out that they need to be replaced. The other nuts need to be gotten off, and those threads need to be wire wheeled and cleaned up because they are disgusting also. So remember, guys, put on anti-seize on your prop bolts, or on a lot of stuff that I put anti-seize on just about all of the bolts on there. That way they never seize up and they never lock up, and you can always get them off. Shop's a mess, guys. I'm stepping on all kinds of stuff. Just giving you an overview. He's doing the rudders. His other rudder's not even painted. The other side of that rudder's not even painted. He did that on the rudders. He doesn't like it. He's going to take it and have it done, or put a logo or something on there. He's talking about something about a billy goat or something another. All right, y'all. Well, I got his carburetor also on there. I got his pipe, everything hooked up. He does not have a breather, and I did not have the bolts or the new gasket to put on that carburetor. So again, that's going to be something he's probably going to have to do. That's out of my job description and title and what I'm getting paid for. So that's going to go to somebody else. Again, guys, I'm just trying to stick to building riggings. And I mean, I'll do some motor detail if I'm low on work or have some spare time. If you guys like how I detail them or whatnot, then I will do a detail. But as far as anything else goes, I'm just trying to stick to riggings. I don't tune or do no motors. Last guy I tried to help tune a motor, I never got paid. I let the boat go, and which was stupid of me. But you know, you live and learn, so that will not be happening anymore. All right, y'all, it is the next day. This morning when I came out, and started moving the steering stick. Realized we had a little problem, but I fixed it, and I'll show you what it was. I originally had, it looks like crap now. Maybe I want something like this. It's all bent out of shape, but I had this circle in here for the travel of the stick. And this morning, I don't know what happened because I had it all bolted down when I made it, but it started scraping on the steering stick, and I didn't want to bend it all up, which I probably could have just bent it up a little bit and made it work. Rust, you have to paint it. And for me, in a small shop like this, and the boat and stuff being parked right outside the shop, it's a mess. I pulled the boat out. I'm going to clean up the shop, guys, so don't worry about that. But what I'm getting at is when you're cutting metal and stuff in here, you know, I clamp it in my vise, I'll turn my table, I'll roll it around. Either way, there's particles, steel particles, floating all over the place. I'm probably breathing a ton of it in every day, but it gets on things. I have to park my wife's car outside the gate because of the particles. These trucks are both getting a new paint job, so I'm not worried about that. I'm not too concerned about those two vehicles. You can see it's been in the shop. I'm pulling it out, but we got a little bit of rust starting, little rust particles starting. Each night I do vacuum these boats out and sweep them and stuff, but you miss a few things, and with the moisture and the weather and being as the whole front of the shop, this makeshift shop I got here, you know, it's subject to moisture, so it's gonna rust. So anyways, what I'm getting at, guys, if you get in a steel rig and built, you're gonna have to clean out your boat. I'm doing the best I can as the builder. I'm doing my part. Each day I take this hard bristle brush, I sweep it and vacuum it out, but for the most part I do the best I can to clean out the boat. I vacuum it and sweep it, and I've already pulled this boat out once and scrubbed it and washed it all down. All right, y'all, see, non-scratch pad. All I use is a little bit of Dawn dish soap and some elbow grease, and it's coming out. But getting back to what I was saying is the boat is going to have to get back in the shop, so I'm going to dry it all out once we get it washed out and cleaned up and a lot of this stuff knocked out of there and scrubbed out and washed out and dried up and sponged out and wiped out with a towel. It's going back in the shop. All right, y'all, with just a matter of a couple hours, this thing's completely done. It won't be done in a couple hours because I don't have the rest of the stuff I need to finish it, but I got his gas pedal mounted. It's not bolted down tight, it just got bolts in there holding it in place. I've got his gas pedal in there. It's a pretty nice gas pedal he got. Don't remember where he found it or whatever, but I think I've seen those on Facebook. He went and got that. I've got all his ties on here except one. I put hit because I'm missing one. No, actually I got one out of my bucket. They're all on there. So put his tank strap on there, that stainless strap. I've already made his foot for his last jack, which he did not bring me the threaded rod to finish that. But anyways, that just needs drilled and bolted, but I'm gonna let him do that, his battery box, because he can move it where he wants it. He wants to be able to get a cooler in there, and he should be able to, with being able to move the battery box around and drill it and bolt it where he wants it. So the only thing, guys, that we need to do left is I'm gonna pull the motor off one last time, because when John was here yesterday, we talked about it, and he said, I told him, I said, man, I don't feel comfortable welding that. I said, I'll do it, but you're gonna have to be here when I do it, and I want you to be here and watch everything that happens and sign a paper saying I'm not responsible. So he agreed, so I am gonna do that. All right, y'all, let's I'm gonna do a little explaining to y'all. Okay, when I say I gotta weld something, okay, see this motor, it's a 220. Yes, it's been converted to a 470 straight valve, even though it's a 470 to begin with, but it's got aircraft jugs and parts on it. So he's going pacemaker, pulled his mag gear goes on here. The mag gear falls off when you take your, it pulls right off when you take your mag out. You cannot take this piece off and make a plate without taking apart the case, or this whole back housing has to come apart to be able to get this gear out of the way of that nut, because it won't come out. So we're not doing that. There's an oil hole right here on the top on the back side. The center one is not an oiler. There's one on this side and there's one on this bottom side. How I'm gonna get the wand in there and do this, I have no idea. I might not be able to do it. All right, y'all, well, John just left with his trailer to go get it weighed so he can get a registration and all that for it. I welded it. He wanted me to weld that front thing just in case, which so I said sure, and I wire tied his nuts back on there for him, and I hope it worked out. But again, guys, it's done. I am not responsible or any of that liability stuff. 100% not responsible.
I think you did a good job. Yeah, I think you did a good job.
All right, y'all, you guys have been watching YCF Airboats, and this is another YCF Airboat production. Another one done. That's gonna end it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. And what are y'all doing right now? Seriously, if you have not hit that subscribe button, please do it. It is totally free. It does not cost a thing. It just helps support the channel. Guys, this is where we're at on the personal budget build. So stay tuned. That video is going to be coming next. I've got still several videos to edit and do. So keep watching, keep liking, keep sharing, and subscribe, guys. I can't tell you this enough. Thank you so much. I love you. Jesus loves you. He died for all of you guys. So remember, man, at the end of the day, if you don't think anybody loves you, he does. So see you next time.